I'm Jen.
And I'm Steve-O.
From Two Can Travel.
And so can you.
If you're planning to start long-term travel or the digital nomad lifestyle soon, or you're already living it and you're wondering what to do about medical insurance, we've got you covered in this video.
Up until now, most nomads and long-term travelers have opted to get travel insurance, which is a temporary option that covers things like medical emergencies and may cover travel snafus like lost luggage, but does not usually include preventative health care.
We've made videos about travel insurance in the past, but what we're talking about today is different. Two of the leading insurance companies for nomads, Genki
and SafetyWing,
have recently introduced more comprehensive health insurance policies for nomads and for people living their lives across multiple countries.
Today we'll go over Genki's Resident policy and SafetyWing's Nomad health policy. We'll explain what they cover, how much they cost, and why they may be a better option than typical travel insurance.
We've been digital nomads for over 5 years now, and we understand that insurance policies can be extremely confusing. While we've been researching these options, we've read the fine print, and we've reached out to both Genki and SafetyWing to ask them lots of questions so that we can pass that information about these policies on to you.
Of course, this video is for informational purposes only, and you should definitely read the fine print of each policy for yourself because things can change.
Let's start with Genki Resident. Genki is a German company that was founded by nomads for nomads in 2021.
Genki's Resident coverage does not have an age limit and covers anyone from anywhere in the world. To apply for the policy, you do need to fill out a medical questionnaire and answer questions about things like your height, your weight, medications, disabilities, and so on. You will also need to disclose any long-term illnesses or pre-existing conditions. Those may not necessarily disqualify you from getting the insurance, but they may affect your premiums.
Genki Resident has few limitations on where in the world you are covered. When you sign up for the policy, you have the option to forego coverage in the US and Canada, which will make your monthly premium a lot lower. But that doesn't mean that you can never travel to those countries. You can add coverage for the US and Canada, as well as the increased premium, on a month-to-month basis. Once you leave the US or Canada, you can revert your coverage back to the lower monthly premium. The biggest limitation on where you're covered is your home country. You're limited to 180 days in your home country per calendar year. Other than that, there are no limitations on where you can go.
Genki's Resident has a minimum of at least 1 year of coverage. And you can keep your policy for the rest of your life. However, your premium will increase as you age. Depending on circumstances like adding a new person into your family, you may have to do some paperwork and readjust your monthly premium. The reason policy length is so important with Genki's Resident policy as compared to Genki's Explorer Traveler's Insurance is because of pre-existing conditions. With Genki's Explorer Traveler's Insurance, you have to reapply for the policy every 2 years. That means if you have surgery or develop any chronic conditions during that time, when you reapply for new coverage, those conditions will be considered pre-existing and may be excluded from your coverage and may even mean your application will be rejected. But with Genki Resident, you will not need to reapply, and so you will have the same insurance plan year to year as long as you keep paying your premiums.
There are many variables to consider when it comes to the price for Genki's Resident coverage. Things like your age, whether you want the premium or standard plan, how much you want your deductible to be, and whether or not you want coverage in the US and Canada. We linked Genki's price calculator in the description box below so you can find out what your monthly premium would be.
Genki Resident has different deductible options of 1,000 euros, 500 euros, or 0 per calendar year. The lower your deductible, the higher your monthly premium.
The standard plan covers you for things like accidents and emergencies, medical procedures and surgeries, examinations, treatment of chronic conditions, physiotherapy, acupuncture, massages, emergency dental treatment, fillings, root canals, prenatal checkups, midwives, and as always, make sure to read the fine print of your policy so that you understand what is and isn't covered. The premium plan covers all of that as well. What sets the premium plan apart from the standard plan is the additional preventative care coverage. Things like colonoscopies, pap smears, cancer screenings, cholesterol lab tests, vaccinations, routine health assessments, preventative eye checkups, outpatient mental health care, more pre- and postnatal care.
Genki Resident does not have a maximum benefit amount per calendar year. However, there are some benefits that are not completely covered by the policy. For example, if you need dentures as a result of an accident, Genki will cover 50% of that cost. Again, make sure to read the fine print of your policy.
While the standard and premium plan do cover a good deal of medical issues, there are some things that are not covered by either plan. Things like withdrawal from addiction, infertility, sterility, professional sports, active participation in a war, and cosmetic surgery are not covered. You might be covered for pre-existing conditions, but only after review and approval. You're not covered if you travel for the express purpose of receiving medical care. Like if you travel to Spain to get a hip replacement, that will likely not be covered. But if you're in a country without the treatment or care that you need, you might be able to get approved to get treatment in another country. For example, if you get into a bad accident in Cambodia, but you can't get surgery there, you may be approved to go get surgery in Thailand.
You are allowed 180 days in your home country per calendar year. It is important to note that for your insurance to take effect, you must leave your home country at least once. So, if you start your policy while abroad, you will be covered right away. However, if you are in your home country when you sign up, you must leave before your policy can start.
This next part applies to people whose country of residence is not the US or Canada. Choosing to be covered in the US or Canada will roughly triple your monthly premium. If you do not choose the US and Canada coverage, you can still visit those countries for up to 6 weeks, but you'll only be covered for medical emergencies and accidents. If you want the additional coverage, you can contact Genki and let them know that you'll be traveling to the US and or Canada and bump up your coverage and your premium for that time period. There's a 1-month minimum to add that US-Canada coverage. So say your trip to California is only for 2 weeks, you'll still need to pay for the additional US-Canada coverage for an entire month. But then you can choose to have it go back down the following month.
For residents of the USA and Canada with Genki's Resident, you can use the USA or Canada as your primary country of residence. And, just like any other primary country of residence, you can be covered there for up to 180 days per calendar year. On top of that, if the US or Canada is your primary country of residence, then you do not need to pay the extra US-Canada premium to be covered there. However, that means you are only allowed to spend 6 weeks in Canada if you're from the US, or US if you're from Canada, unless you upgrade your coverage. Again, it's important to read the fine print of the policy and check everything for yourself because things can change. There are links below to read more about Genki's coverage and get an instant quote. And now we'll talk about SafetyWing's Nomad Health Policy.
Honestly, we found that the information available about SafetyWing's Nomad Health was not very straightforward. We asked a lot of questions through their help chat about the policy to understand how it works and who it covers. We'll do our very best to explain that all here.
But again, we highly recommend that you read the fine print of the policy because it will vary depending on your country of residence. On the plus side, we have found that SafetyWing has a very responsive customer service chat option on their website where you could talk to a real human being and ask them any questions you may have about the policy.
SafetyWing's Nomad Health covers people up to the age of 74. SafetyWing Nomad Health is not available if your country of residence is any of the following: Belarus, Canada, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Cuba, Guam, Hong Kong, Iran, Ireland, North Korea, Palau, Palestine, Puerto Rico, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, Syria, UAE, the USA, the US Virgin Islands, and Zimbabwe. That doesn't mean that if you're from any of those countries, you can't get SafetyWing's Nomad Health. It just means that you can't put any of those countries as your country of residence when you apply. For SafetyWing Nomad Health, country of residence means the country where the insured person is living for 183 days or more in a year while the policy is in effect. However, this doesn't apply to a lot of nomads, us included, who don't spend more than 183 days in any country in a year.
We asked SafetyWing what to do if you're from one of the countries where country of residence is not offered, like the US. The representative we talked to at SafetyWing said that you could choose any country where you spend any amount of time as your country of residence, as long as it is eligible for short and long trips. According to what they told us, you do not need to spend 183 days there. Any length of time is fine. If you're from the US or any of the countries on this list, we highly recommend speaking with SafetyWing directly to discuss your options.
When you apply for a SafetyWing Nomad Health policy, you'll need to fill out a medical questionnaire and disclose any medical history that you have for the past 24 months. Things like hospital visits, surgeries, and any chronic or pre-existing conditions.
SafetyWing's Nomad Health coverage is limited to 30 days per trip in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. You can take as many trips as you like, but your total days in each of these countries needs to be less than 180 days per policy year. Plus, coverage is limited to emergency care only. There is the option to add and pay for more coverage in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. SafetyWing's Nomad Health cannot arrange for direct billing with hospitals in these countries, and they are considered pay and claim. Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Somalia, South Sudan, Syria, Zimbabwe.
SafetyWing Nomad Health is available for 1 year of coverage. Past that, you can renew your coverage on a yearly basis. You will need to apply for a new policy every 12 months. The coverage does not extend year after year. And if you develop a chronic condition during your policy year, when it comes time to renew, you'll need to list that as a pre-existing condition on your new application.
The price of SafetyWing's Nomad Health depends on what age bracket you fall in. Check out SafetyWing's Nomad Health price calculator in the description box below.
SafetyWing's Nomad Health policy does not have a deductible. However, the standard plan does have a 10% copay for all outpatient services. The first and most obvious difference between the two plans is the price. The premium plan is roughly double the price of the standard plan for every age bracket. The standard plan covers things like inpatient emergency room and ICU care, 100% of inpatient surgery, up to $500,000 for outpatient surgery, prescription medication, pathology, dialysis, organ and tissue transplant, cancer treatments, reconstructive surgery, and more. The premium plan also covers all of that, plus more preventative care for things like dental checkups, eye exams and eyeglasses, cancer and cardiovascular screenings and immunizations. As always, read the fine print of your policy to find out what's covered and the limit of the coverage.
It's also important to know what is not covered. Things like active participation in war, aesthetic treatments, growth hormones, weight control treatments, over-the-counter medications, professional sports, sleep disorders, allergies. As always, read the fine print.
This part applies specifically to non-U.S. residents. Travel in the U.S. is limited to 30 days per trip. You can take as many trips as you like, and there are no restrictions regarding the frequency or how many trips you take. However, your total days in the U.S. in a policy year needs to be under 180 days. Also, you are only covered for emergency care in the U.S. So for example, if you have the premium package, a trip to the dentist in the U.S. for a cleaning would not be covered.
SafetyWing's Nomad Health does not cover anyone whose country of residence is the USA. But, as the representative at SafetyWing told us, you can choose a different country of residence. We highly suggest you chat with a SafetyWing representative directly about your situation. We'll leave a link in the description box, and they usually respond within minutes.
SafetyWing's Nomad Health has a limit of $1.5 million of coverage per policy year. However, there are lower limits of coverage for different types of preventative care. You can get a direct quote from Genki or SafetyWing at the links in the description box below. And as always, make sure to read the fine print of your policy. If you have any more questions, make sure to reach out to Genki or SafetyWing directly regarding your coverage.
We hope you found this video useful. If you want to know more about Genki and SafetyWing's traveler's insurance, check out this video right here. We'll see you there. Bye-bye.